for the third exam, which I will pass, I told you to pass out probably in the last day of class, in order to do a recap. So on the third exam, the question will be, someone asked me this morning, there will be questions on what we are covering after the second, basically the former Soviet Union. And there'll be, I think, 3 questions, if I remember correctly. Double space. And one of the questions, you'll have some choice, one of the questions will be explain carefully the causes of the Bolshevik Revolution in 1917. And that's what we did in class, that's what you're reading, and you can't answer that. So let me just warn you. You can't answer that, but you can't get an adequate answer from the Encyclopedia Britannica or on the web. It just won't work. And so, since some of you are graduating, if you do that, you'll probably fail. And hence, you won't get this course for credit, unless you did very well in the first 2 exams. I want to make sure that you understand what's at stake here. Okay? So, it's too late to drop the course. So I see some of you for the first time in a long time. I got a good memory. And so, it's your gamble. It's not nothing to do with me. And if you make it, bravo. If you don't, so now you know what's at stake in this. So do the reading, ask questions, try and come to the lectures so you can get the course for credit. We're going to pass the exams back at the end. We'll stop early. And the vast majority of you did quite well. But be or better on this exam. Some of the exams were just outstanding, according to what the PAs have told me. So, you feel real good, but don't lose it on this last exam. Just second to the last exam. Just don't screw it up. The first exam is probably the most difficult. This Bolshevik Revolution of 1917, I tried to explain to you the class causes of it. The class causes are precisely missing from other accounts. They don't take that into account. That's what we did. So, what were some of the contradictions of this first great socialist revolution in the 20th century? On one hand, it launched, this revolution, what was traditionally understood at the time and today as a socialist or communist society. That was the conventional view then and today. Why? Because the the Bolsheviks, collectivized the ownership of the means of production and established planning. So they socialized the ownership of the means of production, they socialized the markets, and so both friends and foes of Marxism had shared something in common. That was their understanding of what was socialism. So whether it be in the Soviet Union or whether it be the FBI in the United States, they both understood together that to be socialism and communism. That was the theory that they had. Because of those 2 radical changes. Second, okay, now let's criticize that. The Soviet Revolution also destroyed or undermined certain conditions of existence of a communist society. One, it established, or I should say not established, it underscored the importance of this ancient class structure in agriculture, in which the farmers there appropriated the surplus that they individually produced. That's not communism. That's individual appropriation and distribution. You may like it, you may not like it, but that's nothing to do with the communist fundamental class process. So the vast majority of the population had nothing to do with socialism and communism. It had to do with a class structure called the ancient, or sometimes called the petty mode of production, in which, once again, the farmer individually appropriated the profits the farmer produced, and then was in the position to distribute. Secondly, despite what the Soviets claimed, this collectivization of the means of production and this planning did not radically alter who appropriated the profits in industry. They did make this change in agriculture. They underscored the ancient, which pre-existed the Bolsheviks. But the establishment of collective ownership of the means of production and markets did not create a communist fundamental class process in industry. Instead, a very few state officials began to receive the profits and distribute the profits produced by the workers. That'll help you in your second example. I'm going to call that what Lenin called it, state capitalism. So you had, as a result of this revolution, a mass of ancients in the agricultural sector and state capitalism in the industrial sector. And all of this was operating for a few years with collective ownership of the means of production and planning. So, once again, we'll go back to what we did in the course. If one focuses on, that is, if one theorizes what happened from the perspective of Engels and Kautsky, markets, that is, planning and collective ownership, then one sees socialism. If one rather focuses on a different kind of theorization, using who produced and appropriated the surplus, you don't see socialism at all. What you see is a combination of ancient and state capitalism. And that was the conundrum over the 20th century. When it all fell apart in the 1980s, from one perspective, what failed was socialism and communism. From a different perspective, what failed was the ancient and state capitalism. Okay, now let's go back and pick up what I told you last time. From 1918, just after the revolution, they were just, the Bolsheviks just getting out of the way, they had collectivized the means of production and so forth. From 1918 to 1921, well, that's counting 1918, that 4-year period. What was established here was called, and still called to this day, war communism. What it was the war part. It was a domestic civil war between the Red Army and the White Army. The White Army was supported by both former capitalists, former landlords, state officials who wanted to defeat the Reds. And the Whites were supported by also foreign troops. The label communism, the label communism, the adjective, refers to the understanding of the Bolsheviks at the time. That is, the communist part was this collectivization of the means and the establishment of planning. War communism had little, if nothing, to do with the communist fundamental class process. That was absent from the society. Okay, the Bolsheviks. To win this war, they needed military. And they needed it rather quickly, since it was a civil war and the white armies were marching from east to west. problem was that the surplus value in that state capitalism that was established very quickly was less than the demands on it. Plus this new one, which was crucial, military expenditures. They had very, very quickly to establish an army, and all of what this implies, the soldiers, the cannon, the boots, the weapons, blah, 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 in order to win that war. But the surplus that they had in industry was too small. Because it still was a mainly agricultural country with all these nations. So although this had been growing under the Tsar, and then the Bolsheviks took it over and replaced the Tsarist people with their own people, although it had been growing, it was still too small. Number one. Number two, the real wage of workers was still horribly constrained. So, in one, to bump this, one way to do it would be to reduce the value. Get our equation. I've done this now many, many times. We'll do it once more. The total value added in industry. One way to increase this would be to decrease this. The problem there was that the real wage, the value of labor power, is equal to the exchange value per unit use value times the use value. Let me just do it in food.